to a lot of educators across Nigeria and beyond. It meant that all schools are closed during this period, and alternative mediums of learning are being utilized. And for that reason, we have radio and television programs run across Nigeria, for example. And equally, we have some organizations and governments organized that are set in place online platforms to learn. So this afternoon, we shall be examining the effectiveness or the feasibility of continuously using online learning to replace the conventional system that we are familiar with. And our panelists will also help us, and some of our guests here will also help us understand what really is online learning, what counts as online learning, and how can we make it effective. And some of our panelists are also some of the practitioners that have been using online learning, perhaps in universities or secondary schools. Some of them are in secondary schools, some are in universities. They've been using online learning platforms to teach. And they'll be sharing with us some of their experiences doing so. My name is Abdulsalam Amou. I'm from EduCeleb, and this is the beginning of the conversation. Two of our guests here are Dr. Mukaila Olatoye. Dr. Mukaila Olatoye is a director in the Education Ministry in Lagos State. He belongs to Education District 3. And we also have here Ms. Kemi Ogunsanya, who is a learning expert. And she will be joining us in carrying on with this conversation. Hello, Dr. Olatoye. Hello. Hello, sir. We can't hear you. Okay. Ms. Ogunsanya, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good. Thank you. See, I don't know. I can't. Dr. Olatoye.
I'm sorry. Good afternoon.
Hello. Good afternoon, sir.
I think Dr. Olatoye has a problem with his audio.
I'm here. I just get the something now. My system was smooth for some time now. All right. I just join you.
All right.
Yeah. Good afternoon, house.
Good afternoon.
Yeah.
All right. So
yeah, afternoon.
We'll start immediately. Sir, Dr. Olatoye, sir, can you please
yes, sir.
And what exactly would you describe as online learning today?
Okay.
E-learning.
When we talk about online, there are so many names given to it. Some people call it e-learning. Basically, when we talk about e-learning, we all know that EDI is electronics. Learning via through what we call internet. I will call it internet in the sense that most of learning now, if you don't use internet, you cannot connect. And e-learning, basically, it involves you sitting there and you'll be teaching somebody elsewhere. You get it now?
Yes.
So today, yeah, that's what I think is called e-learning.
Okay. It's just that it has to do with some form of distance learning. Is that what you mean?
It's distance, so you can even call it distance learning too. You can call it distance learning, but the difference between distance learning is that you can do distance learning whereby in most cases you don't use internet. You can use electronics. You can transfer your materials, learning materials through another electronic gadget without using internet.
So, Ms. Ogunsanya, in your perspective, do you think e-learning will replace the physical classroom in the nearest future?
Okay, so I feel that e-learning will not totally replace the physical classroom. Okay, I believe that what we're looking at is blended learning. Blended learning means that there's a part of electronic learning and then there's a part of the physical classroom. But technology will be used, e-learning will be used just to complement the physical classroom. That's what I feel.
Okay. Thank you very much. Dr. Olatoye, what are the facilities?
Yeah.
What are the facilities or things that should be in place for e-learning to take place?
The audio that is cracking. You say what are the facility of what?
What are the facilities needed for
Hello?
e-learning to take place?
All right.
What are the
Basically, for e-learning, the facilities required for e-learning to take place. Is that not what you ask?
Yes, sir.
Hello? Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now, for e-learning to take place, yes, for e-learning to take place, number one, you need what we call iPad or iPhone. That is very, very important, and connected with internet. So you can, that's the most simplest. You can also use computer attached with modem, because the person you want to connect with must have that gadget, you must also have the gadget. Is that okay? But the most simplest among all these facilities is the phone, your phone, and that phone must be iPhone. With that iPhone, you cannot connect to the other one with internet.
Oh, all right.
You cannot to your learner.
All right, sir. We have another. We have another guest that's just joined us. He has been here earlier, but it seems I did not notice that. We have Dr. Muazu Idris. He's the head of ICT at Kaduna State University. Dr. Muazu,
okay.
Dr. Idris, I would like you to share with us insights from the usage of e-learning from your university. You'll be using it for like 2 or 3 weeks now so far. Kindly share with us some insights on how it works in your university.
Well, I have had the contribution of other speakers trying to define what e-learning is, what are the facilities required for e-learning to take place. Basically, you need an internet connectivity because you are looking at talking to people regardless of their geographic location. You can only achieve that over an internet connection. Coming to the experience in my university following measures taken to curtail, I can tell you a lot of successes have been recorded, but there are quite a number of challenges as well. Success in the sense a number of teachers can now reach their students, especially postgraduate students, via many e-learning platforms, or what I can best describe as video conferencing platforms, especially the one we are using now, Zoom. We are presently trying to develop an online learning management system. There is slight difference between an online learning management system and an ordinary video conferencing app, such as Zoom. The online learning management system we are working to develop now will be localized, and the entire control will be by the university, unlike Zoom, that is more of a third-party application that you subscribe to. My university consider developing in-house an app to handle that, because if you look at the cost of subscription, it's something that you may not be able to sustain over a long period of time.
So
the challenges we are facing
we'll come back to you later, sir. Thank you very much for that. We have another guest that's just, I know the panelist has just joined us now, Professor Sanu Adepoju. He's a professor of education at Gombe State University. Professor, good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Please unmute your mic there. Okay. Anyway, we'll come back to him later. And you'll get to know him better when he comes on board. Ms. Ogunsanya. Right. So please, stay with us. We know that e-learning cannot be used in the same way for different people. For adults and for young people, there are various ways in which it is used. You deal with the young ones, the younger ones. How effective would you say you are using e-learning? How effective is the use of e-learning? If you are to do so, how effective would you do that?
Okay, first of all, Absalam, please, could you mute every other person because there's a bit of
interference. I noticed that.
Hello, Absalam.
Oh, yes, I've done
there's
that.
a lot of interference.
I have done that now.
Okay. Okay, so your question is how effective.
All right, unmute yourself again, please. Unmute yourself again.
Okay, so please can you go back the question again?
I said that how effective, if we are to say that e-learning will be effective, how can we ensure effectiveness in the use of e-learning or the use of e-learning platforms in general?
Okay, so the truth is that there are various e-learning platforms. I work with children. So we know that for children, you can't just be recording videos where you're just talking on and on to the children. No, you have to make use of visual resources, audio resources that will engage the children. You also need face-to-face interactions with some of the learners. So some of the platforms I use as a teacher with the children I teach include physical interactions, okay? Things that make me see the children. When I do pre-recorded videos for them, I make sure it's very engaging. I make sure I make use of animations, cartoon characters, different things to engage the children to stimulate their learning.
Right.
So for me, I believe that the platforms, some of the platforms being used.
Continue.
May I go ahead, Absalam?
Go ahead.
Okay, so if I'm supposed to rate how effective it has been, for me, I'll say in the past few weeks, it has been quite effective. Okay, because we use a system, I use a system where I can give immediate feedback to my students, to my learners. When I give them activities, when I give them tasks, they can give me, I can give them instant feedbacks on their tasks. So it has been quite effective for me.
All right. Professor Adepoju.
Yes, please. Good afternoon.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
I would like you to share insights on how to make e-learning effective based on your experience over the years.
There's one thing I always say, the only limitation is one's imagination. Yes, you are talking about the fact that they do not have higher ICT capabilities. But what are those things that are available? Those things that are available, the only limitation to the effective usage for effective delivery of instruction is the imagination of the user. Let me just go a little bit lower. We may not fully say this is e-learning. Radio is one of the ICT. Look how you just need to do 5 minutes. Everybody, at least every teacher should be able to afford a smartphone. Do 5 minutes video presentation. They don't need internet connectivity. There could be any means by which they could watch these videos prior to coming to class. These are some of the resources that we can deploy. And let me tell you, like in Gombe, I'm surprised, despite the fact that we went to a community where we can say, well, they don't have anything, but they are still carrying on some private schools with very poor facilities, still carrying on teaching and learning. What do they do? What's up? Okay, your parents don't have, but your parents' friends do have. They send in assignments and they said, use your parents' phone, the friends of your parents, whoever, to make replies. These are part of the imagination. What are the resources available? Make use of your thinking, your imagination to make the best out of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. Although I missed a number of minutes out of your presentation, I don't know what happened at this end. That's part of the
Can you hear me?
Using e-learning, using the internet. From what Prof has just said now, there is a need for collaboration for e-learning to be effective. From what I could get from what he just said now, we need collaboration
among community members, especially during this period of the restriction of movements. Communities need to collaborate with one another to ensure that everybody is able to learn. Now, let's talk about teachers. I would like Ms. Ogunsanya, from your end as a teacher, how do you think teachers can collaborate better to ensure that e-learning is effective during this period?
Okay. All right. So how teachers can collaborate to ensure that e-learning is effective at this time?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So first of all, for teachers to ensure that e-learning is effective, just like Prof earlier said, you have to be aware of so many factors. You have to be aware of the age of your learners. You have to be aware of the digital literacy skills of the learners as well as the parents. Okay. Before you have to be aware of the kind of platforms you're using. The platforms you are using must be something that appeals to the children, something that is easily accessible for them. So teachers must ensure that every resource they're using at this time is age appropriate, is context appropriate, is curriculum appropriate. Those are some factors that should be put in place, or that can be put in place to ensure productivity of e-learning.
All right, Dr. Mwazu. So Dr. Mwazu, please, you know that e-learning, from what you said earlier, you were talking about the challenges. One of the major challenges of e-learning we know of is the cost of data and such other things like that. Could you please share more insights on some of the challenges that you have found? Okay. Hello?
So
I said that
some of the
could you please share more insights on some of the challenges that have been experienced so far in the usage of e-learning from your end there?
Yes, the issue of access is one of the key challenges of e-learning.
Yes, I have said it all.
Yes, so what I recommended to my university is that let us approach government and encourage them to go into MOU with some the government look at providing each and every university student, especially, a laptop or a palm top that he can use for accessing some e-learning platform. And then government will expand infrastructure, automatically the cost of data and the efficiency of services provided by these companies will be greatly improved. Go to South Africa, for example, go to Kenya. They have better infrastructure than what we have here. As such, e-learning experience and any other services that has to assist the effectiveness of the method. Another challenge is we have to identify what part of the curriculum can we do online, what part is that we cannot do online. For example, we teach medical students here, there is what we call bedside clinicals. It's basically practicals. There is no way you can handle that through e-learning because it is the spot kind of assessment that a student is expected to carry out and then give feedback to his lecturer, against which the lecturer will grade him. So some of these things cannot totally be replaced by e-learning. Just as one of the speakers said, we may just begin to think of blended kind of learning experience. Over to Sanu.
Sorry, Professor Adepoju, sir. We understand that one of the major challenges that we have to deal with when we apply e-learning in our schools or in our classrooms is the issue of security. How do you think we can work our way around this?
I'm not sure I can hear the question.
I said that we have the issue of security, cyber security and such things like that.
in ordinarily, before we talk about e-learning, on the internet there's the issue of cybersecurity, and we have internet safety. Let me just put the two together. We have children that are forced, let me just say, they are meant to use the internet now at this stage. How do we ensure cybersecurity and internet safety? I know they are two different things, or maybe they are similar. You help us understand that.
Let me put it this way, that talking about responsible usage. One of the things I always emphasize when we teach teachers to deploy ICT in teaching is that you have to teach them about digital responsibility. Any media we use can be subjected to misuse. And one of the things is looking at what we talk about in digital responsibility. You have to talk about concern for safety, your own safety and the safety of others. You have to protect yourself, protect others, protect intellectual properties, and be aware of dangers. And in this, the teachers and the learners will have to be aware, first and foremost, that whatever resources you are making use of, despite the advantages, there are a lot of disadvantages that go along with it. And so by the time this awareness is there, the emphasis will now be on what to do to optimize the advantages and minimize the disadvantages. There are a lot of disadvantages there. We could talk about bad influences. We could talk about wrong information. For example, now, we might be deploying ICT facilities, online learning, whichever format we are using. Because I have access to the internet, there are likely to be distractions, social media distractions, unwholesome information that are also available there online, unnecessary exposure of my personal, what is supposed to be personal information that I'm freely sharing to those who should not have access to it. And so digital responsibility will need to be taught and to be cultivated as a culture. The teachers, the student may not need to be conversant with the technical details of cybersecurity, but once this basic element of digital security is put in mind, that look, protect yourself, protect others, protect intellectual properties, better yours or the others, and respect your own privacy and the privacy of others. This basic element of digital citizenship and responsibilities will go a long way to ensure that learners or users generally, for whatever purposes, are really protected. Over to you, please. Thank you.
One of our guests here is Professor Mudashiru Yusuf. He's a professor of education technology at the University of Ilorin. So I would like him to join this conversation to add more to this. How do we ensure internet safety at this age of using the internet to teach? Proceed, sir.
Mr. Amo, I want to appreciate the privilege I have this afternoon to talk to this eminent gathering. Before I address your question, I would like to clarify certain misconceptions which are realized people have conveyed during the presentations which have gone before now. The first is that e-learning, online learning, distance education, they are not the same. But you find that e-learning may have component of online education or online learning. Also, distance education can also have the elements. When you look at distance education, you are talking about physical separation of the learner and the institution. You can now decide to use some tools which are technologically based than that internet based. When you are now doing that one, you are now doing the aspect of distance education using the online mode. That's the first thing. The e-learning means electronic learning. It doesn't need to be online. For instance, if you have materials on CD or you have it ordinarily offline on your phone, that is e-learning. But online teaching, if that's what we are looking at, I know the topic says on e-learning now, which is broader than online teaching. Online learning is 100% through the internet. It cannot be along with classroom interaction. A lady I talked about the blended learning, that is possible. So we need to do that. Then, as for the tools you can use, it's not just iPhone. You can use any smartphone, whether Android, whether Windows-based, or any other platform. So that is the second clarification that I need to make. Then the third one has to do with what people are doing now. In reality, is not online teaching. Let us know this. What you have now is emergency remote teaching, which is available in education. Emergency remote teaching. Real online learning has certain basic things. If you have a crisis that it had happened in other countries, for example, in Afghanistan, also where they had flood in America, what they did was that they were teaching students remotely. They don't call it online learning or online teaching. Those ones are emergency remote teaching. And that is what is happening in Nigeria now. As of today, institutions they were not prepared to teach online. So what they have done is the emergency options. So you use WhatsApp, and that's why somebody will do that, somebody in primary school, that you want to teach them online. And then you will now engage them on Zoom for 40 minutes. That is not possible. At a level, those students, they are too young to listen for 40 minutes. You vary activities. There are things, so we are not talking about online learning. So what we have now is really what? Emergency remote teaching. So let us agree with that one first. So I say professional in that field. And now
we have to adopt that terminology for the rest of this conversation. Thank you very much, sir.
No, in literature, that is what in literature. Professors in this field globally, they tell you it's emergency remote teaching, not online. Online learning is a different thing. It is systematic. It has to be planned. And it's going to be a mixture of several things, LMS and mixture of medium. So you are going to have media, not just one medium. So now your question, as regards security, is a challenge. But as for online learning, there are platforms that have been developed. Remember, 90% of security issue using the internet is always internal.
Yes.
So it's not external. That is the reality. So if you are able to guard against the 90%, the possibility of somebody interfering is true. There will be soon bombing. Somebody is teaching online and somebody comes in with a pornography picture just to disrupt like we are here now. Somebody can bring in something we don't like, but we can stop it. So, but there are procedures that you can apply. It's not really a risk globally, but I want to tell you, as of today, over students in 25 universities in America, they have gone to court to sue their universities that they are not interested in this emergency remote teaching. And why? Because of the problems they have seen. So that is just the short response I want to give now. Thanks so much for the privilege.
All right, thank you very much, sir. So before we proceed with our panelists, I would like to read some of the comments that we have here. Mary says something about collaboration and imagination is very important at this stage. And we have Professor Josephine Ode saying that my major concern is how to bridge the gap between the rich and the poor in accessibility of both gadgets and data. So I would like Dr. Olatoye, you are familiar with the public school sector in Lagos State. I would like you to share with us how do we bridge the gap between the rich and the poor in the accessibility of gadgets and all these things to have students learn during this period. Dr. Olatoye, please unmute your mic.
Hello.
Right. Yes, proceed, sir.
Can you? Yeah.
Proceed.
I want to go a bit with Professor Muiz Idris from Ilorin. You see, in our own district, what we try to introduce is what majority of the parents could afford. That is the issue of using WhatsApp and Telegram.
Okay.
What we did was to get the number of those students. The class teacher will get something we create platform for each arm. That is SS1 to SS3. So we create timetable for them. You get it now. So what we now do is for 40 minutes, each subject will now come up on the platform. But it's not teaching per se. It's more or less like revision. The teacher will just come up, now alert the student that, okay, we are about to start. If you are on, let me know. The student will come up to the WhatsApp and say hi. So the teacher can come up with audio recording items, then forward it to the students. You get it now?
Yes.
Then the student will respond back. Sometimes the teacher may record a video and forward it to the students. They respond back. But all these are just little effort. It's not going. We cannot bridge that gap because of the what do you call it?
The costs.
What involves the gadgets required. Because if you are going to go on real online teaching, no way. There are so many. Like now, we require sound system that will be used. So also, most of the students, they live where the network is not good. Like what we are doing now, our network here is not all that okay. Look at your own edge there. So in most cases, they don't hear the teacher. But what we now ask the teacher to do is to record on that WhatsApp. Then when we now discover that most of the students, they don't get along because of the limitation on that WhatsApp, we now create what we call Telegram. That Telegram could access up to 1,000 students. That's what we did in our education district 3, which we are taking now to bridge that less privilege. But without having phone, you cannot. Having phone, like smartphone, like what the prof said, smartphone and iPhone, you cannot get in touch, and there must be available of data.
Okay, all right, sir. Thank you very much, sir. So another
All right.
Some of our guests also reminded us of this. The Federal Ministry of Education had an agreement with one of the mobile communication networks in Nigeria called 9Mobile to ensure that children are able to learn during this period. We have a number of resources that they provided for that. We have Khan Academy, we have School Gates, we have Seesaw, and there is also the National Open University platform that is open for all tertiary education, university students to continue studying during this period. So there are also two other ones I will come up with later. So let me just add to what they've said so far about increasing access. During our last 2 during our last conversation on something like this on Saturday, one of the panelists told us of her experience. She lives on the island, but not everybody on the island is that rich. In a richer neighbor mounted a speaker outside and started playing whatever they are playing on radio for the benefit of those that are in the community. Those children that play in the community, at certain points, certain times of the day, they have to sit down to listen to radio. Some of them, not all of them can afford radio, but somebody that can afford it provides a speaker. There's some of these low-cost speakers that some of us already have. So that person places it outside for children in the community to learn during this period. So I think that's one of the other ways in which we can bridge the gap between the rich and the poor in terms of accessibility. Now, then somebody asked about whether there will be a link to this at the end of the program. God willing, they'll post the video on our YouTube channel later, and equally, there will be a report about it, like a news report or two about it on our website. And before that, as well, let's just take note of this, that Professor Ajiboye, Professor Josiah Olusegun Ajiboye, who is the TLCN registrar and CEO, he too commented, he reminded us that in Nigeria, we have about 126 million people that have access to the internet. And let me just quickly add to that, that a number of Nigerians that use the internet use them for various things. Some use them for social media. According to Facebook in December, 27 million people, 27 million Nigerians were active on Facebook in 2019. We have, just like Dr. Olatoye said, we have just around just around 37% of Nigeria's population that have internet access in their community. If you go around Nigeria, there are many parts of Nigeria that have not been penetrated by broadband internet. Then we have on mobile phones, in a number of Nigerians, the density of mobile phones are 96%. And according to the NCC, all this data I'm saying so far from the NCC, National Nigerian Communications Commission, 269 million Nigerians are said to have access to, there are 269 million active mobile lines. Those are, people who have 2 phones and all sorts of things like that. So these are some of the things that we're working around. Then we equally have, just like Professor Yusuf said about e-learning being better than the internet, or being better than online learning. We have radio programs. In terms of radio and television programs, 30 states across Nigeria have 30 states and the FCT, let me put it that way. 30 states and the FCT have 1 or 2 radio or television programs for children during this period for them to continue learning. Usually, most of these programs are for most of them are for secondary school students, whereas there are a few of them for primary school students and pupils or students as well. So I would like